Welcome back to our Peace Through Strength podcast, brought to you by the American Security Council Foundation. I am your host, Joy Votrobek, and back with me is our senior analyst, Laurence Sanford.
Nice to be here, Joy.
Welcome back, Larry. And we are going to talk about Larry's article called Houthi Who. The Houthis are an Iranian-backed terrorist group that the U.S. has not identified as a terrorist group under this administration yet.
Yes.
You can view all of Larry's articles at www.ascf.us. And while you're there, please consider joining our newsletter and donating to our organization to help change American policy. Larry, you said the Houthis are an Iranian-backed proxy like Hezbollah and Hamas,
Yes.
and they control the northern part of Yemen,
Yes.
which borders the Red Sea.
Yes.
We know that they are interrupting shipping lanes
That is correct.
for numerous ships as they are attacking off of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. These are ships that are anyway, they believe, linked to Israel, even though they're not flagged Israeli. If they're so much as they think they're going to an Israeli port or owned by an Israeli, they are attacking these ships. And also, we have the U.S. has our military and our Navy ship out there, as well as other countries as well. So how long do you think it's going to take before the international community does something about the Houthis interrupting this shipping lane?
I do not know. I mean, it's a situation where freedom of the seas is being directly attacked by a terrorist group. I find it hard to believe that Europe in particular, which depends upon traffic from the Red Sea up through the Suez Canal, isn't more upset about this situation, as is Egypt. Egypt depends on the Suez Canal for income. A significant portion of their income comes from the Suez Canal. And then we have the Red Sea being basically a sea, and so you have a terrorist group firing missiles at ships. In the old days, that would be an act of war.
Yes.
I'm not sure that is going to fly. And interestingly enough, the Chinese have a military base nearby in Djibouti.
As do we.
As do we. And so they have ships patrolling out there at the Red Sea and in the Gulf So they're not saying anything or doing anything to the best of my knowledge. But the Houthis in Yemen's a terrible place. In my younger days, I was there in the Navy in Aden when it was a British colony, and it's a arid, barren land where 25% of the water, which is very scarce, is consumed by the cultivation of khat. It's a narcotic leaf that the people sit around all day chewing on and get into a semi-stupor. And so when I was there back in the 60s, there wasn't much going on because most of them seemed to be in a stupor from this khat. And the Houthis are a tribe up in the northern part of Yemen that are Shia. And again, we get back to this whole thing about Islam, Shia versus Sunnis. And they started a revolution or rebellion back in the 90s against the Sunni Muslims in southern Aden. So southern part of Yemen now is controlled by Sunni Muslims, and the Houthis are up there in northern Yemen, which also includes the Red Sea, backed by Iran, which is also a Shia country. Southern Yemen is backed by the Saudis, which is a Sunni thing. So we're getting into a religious war, and now the Houthis have declared war against Israel. So what the heck does that mean? Is Israel going to respond to all these attacks? I think they got their hands full right now between Hamas and Hezbollah, and who knows what's going to happen in the West Bank.
I would agree with that. So that's why I'm asking about the international community itself, because it's messing the shipping lanes up. And recently, 2 Liberian cargo ships were attacked.
Yeah.
And they now are considering going another route all the way down around the Cape of Africa.
Major shipping companies are now telling their ships not to go up into the Red Sea, so that's going to add costs and delays and so forth. I find it hard to believe that they can fire rockets in our day and age of technologies, we can't figure out where these rockets and missiles are coming from. And the U.S. Navy is shooting down drones that are coming across. My question is, what are they shooting them down with, and how big are the drones, and what are they loaded with? I mean, you can have a Patriot missile system that the Saudis have for some of the missiles coming into them. I mean, the Houthis have attacked Saudi Arabia. They've attacked the UAE nations also. And they have the Patriot missiles, but I think every Patriot missile is like a $500,000 pop. So if the Houthis are shooting $10,000 missiles and it takes $500,000 to shoot it down, that's not a good cost ratio. So there's all sorts of issues to me that I don't understand, that I don't see it happening. And how many ships is it going to take to shoot down the missiles? Or are they going to establish convoys like they did in World War II, where they escort ships up the Red Sea to the Suez Canal? You got to take it out, and I'm not sure the best way to take it out. And where are they? It's like so many things in the Middle East. It's a mess.
Yes, and how long is it going to take for the U.S. to decide whether, as you said, this would have been active war, but we're holding off. And I think Saudi Arabia has asked us to hold off as well.
Yeah, good point. Saudi Arabia is holding off because they don't want to escalate the thing, because they've been engaged in this thing, backing the Sunnis in southern Yemen for years, and so that's the reason why the Houthis have been sending missiles their way too. So it's another stalemate, just dragging on for years and years, and I'm not so sure there's any real quick solution. I mean, we get back to Gaza, right? The Israelis have taken it over. Now what?
Yes, exactly. Netanyahu is leaning, toward, obviously, Hamas needs to be wiped out. The Palestinian Authority, that's not really an option because we'll have another issue. So, but we're getting off track there. So we'll get back to, as I was saying in the beginning, we had the previous Trump administration had designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization.
They designated it as on their way out.
On the way out.
On January 21.
The Biden administration has taken that away. And
took that away within a month.
Now they're deciding whether they're going to go back to this. So you had wrote in your article, one concern is that the negative implications on non-governmental organizations providing humanitarian assistance to Yemen, because furthermore, this designation may be considered a badge of honor by the Houthis and elevate their prestige.
Well, like everything else in life, there's pluses and minuses. The designation, as you said, would perhaps interfere with aid to the refugees that are internal to Yemen. I'm not so sure how much and why that's a valid argument. Being designated a terrorist organization that would add prestige, that might be the case. But again, overall, I think you have to call them what they are. They're a terrorist organization. What you do about it is another matter. I mean, you could call the country of Iran a terrorist organization.
Well, they're backing them, as well as Hezbollah and Hamas. So.
And so we're not shooting at them. I guess the answer is, let's wait and see what happens. I don't know. I can't understand why there aren't more military from the West in the Red Sea protecting the shipping. Let's go back to World War II with the convoys.
Well, and that would be another question I was going to ask. Do you think if we redesignated them a terrorist organization, other governments would follow suit?
Probably. Yeah, I would think so. Well, they certainly would consider it. And by designated, what does that mean? Do we stop aid? Do we stop?
As you said, it's a mess there. And I know there's been a lot of refugees leaving Yemen, going toward Africa, Ethiopia, I believe.
Yeah, right across the. But you can't have a situation where you have countries or territories firing missiles at ships. You can't let them get away with it. So, but is it up to us to get?
Right, exactly. Well, and that's why I say international community, because it's not just us. It's all flagships from, I think it was it Denmark?
Yep, that's their major, I never can pronounce their shipping line, Maersk, M-A-E-R-S-K, Maersk. They've ordered their ships not to go up the Red Sea, to go around the Cape. So that adds, I think, 3 weeks or 2 weeks anyways, the shipping plus cost.
Cost, yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see how this plays out.
And you know, the U.S. military is stretched pretty thin between. We're helping out Guyana and some training, and we got the Ukraine depleting our stores of ammunition, and our ship logs are backlogged by months and months. The ships don't get refurbished. We have some serious issues in our hands, but we have great alliances with Japan and Korea, and they have the capability of building ships, repairing ships. I mean, when I was home port in Japan, the Yokosuka shipyard was very good as far as repairing ships, and it's still in existence, so they're still using them. So we have alliances, and the UE, European Union, is beefing up its military spending. So hopefully they'll help Ukraine, and they'll help us overall in building up military. So I just don't like wars. I don't like shooting, and there's got to be ways to try to avoid it as best as possible.
And like you said, it shouldn't be left to us when this is a major shipping lane for many countries. Right.
There should be a united effort. Where's the UN in this? Well, we know the UN is vehemently anti-Israel, so we'll see how it plays out. I mean, there's more resolutions against Israel than all the other nations in the world, and that sort of tells you where the UN is.
And the Houthis shooting at these ships is all going back to Israel and the Israel-Hamas war. So let's get into peace through strength solutions. And one of your action points was recognize Islamic terror groups as fundamentally anti-American and anti-Western civilization, which is exactly what's happening here.
Yes.
We know Iran is supporting the Houthis and other terrorist groups, and there's currently a SHIP Act, that's Stop Harboring Iranian Petroleum Act, making its way through Congress. It has bipartisan support and it has passed the House. What are your thoughts on this?
My thought is there's other things they could be spending time on. Oil is fungible. In other words, it's like a balloon. You press this end, this is going to get bigger. So you press one button on Iran, the oil is going to go another direction. And Iran ships shiploads and barrel loads of oil to China. And China's not going to stop getting the oil. Sanctions have been placed against Russia because of Ukraine. They're making a bundle of money shipping oil to China. China just ignores the sanctions. I'm not a big sanction fan in this. You know, Joy.
I know you're not.
I always point to Cuba as an example of why I don't believe in sanctions. For 60 years, we've had sanctions against Cuba because of the communist rule down there. Where are we 60 years later? We look bad. Cuba's a poverty, miserable country, and they blame America for the sanctions, and yet they can buy everything else from everywhere in the world, and they can't because they don't have any money because the socialism has just ruined their whole society. So sanctions, generally speaking, in my opinion, don't work. There's other ways to skin a cat. So if we try to embargo Iranian oil, where's that going to get us?
Well, and like you said, they're going to continue to sell to China as they're already doing. And then you look at Russia too. Russia was selling their oil to China and India. So
do we want to disrupt the world supply of oil so our gasoline prices in America go from $3 a gallon up to $10 a gallon?
The American people would probably say no.
Yeah. So unforeseen consequences.
So probably not the SHIP Act, maybe not the best way to go, but maybe looking into more, like we were saying, an international coalition to stop the Houthis from the shipping lane issue.
And I think we're almost at the stage where we have to declare almost a national emergency for the military. We're spending 3% of our gross national product, and back in the day of Reagan, back in the day, we'd spend 6-7%. So even if we bumped it up to 4%, we're better off. I mean, our ships are old, our planes are old, shipyards can't handle the accommodations of new ships, repairing ships. Recruiting efforts in the military are going down way below the needs of the service. We have the pollution of the military leadership that hasn't won a war since World War II. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. And so the current leadership is over there in Israel telling them how to conduct a war, and is over there in Ukraine telling them how to conduct a war, and we can't conduct our own wars.
Well, thank you for your thoughts on this, and thank you for your article on the Houthi Who. And again, to our listeners, you can read all of Larry's articles on our website at www.ascf.us. Subscribe to our newsletter and consider donating. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also subscribe and comment on our YouTube and Rumble channels by typing in American Security Council Foundation. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Joy.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to our listeners, and join us again next year as we continue to bring you podcasts on peace through strength.